like to have your attention. We have a very special guest. This is Chef Maurice from Bravo. There were a number of us who raised Bravo last night after the show, and I assure you, this is a fabulous restaurant. We're very grateful for them being here today. We really enjoy it. And what Chef Maurice is going to show you, I believe you are making the balsamic chicken again.
Yes, yes.
I had a sample of this afternoon. Demonstration here by the so thank you very much for coming. Without further ado, Chef Maurice.
Thank you. How's everyone doing this afternoon? Good, good. I want to make a special mention to Marianne. She's our front of the house manager back at the restaurant, and she really did all the legwork to make this possible, so a round of applause to her as well. And because I want to stay married for many, many years, I would like to acknowledge my family in the front row, my wife, Italiana, my mother-in-law, Deborah, and my baby girl, Lillian. So what we're going to do today, we're going to make a signature dish on our menu. We're going to do a balsamic vinaigrette, which at Bravo, we're really known for making all of our dressings in-house. There's about 7 dressings in our restaurant that we use, and all of them we make fresh on a daily basis. And then we're going to do a balsamic marinated chicken breast with some roasted vegetables and a little bit of spinach as side dish. Now I'm going to work a little bit backwards today because we are cooking chicken and it's going to need time to cook. So this chicken breast, we've marinated in the balsamic dressing itself. We've marinated this chicken for 24 hours. And anytime you're marinating chicken, you want to do it at least 12 hours. Chicken is kind of tough to marinate and to really get that flavor that you're looking for. A lot of other meats, such as steak or shrimp, you can kind of get away with marinate for about 2 hours. But chicken, you really want to make sure that you take the time to marinate it. So this has been marinated for 24 hours, and even though it has been marinated, we're still going to make sure that we season it with salt and pepper. And that's just going to make sure that it really enhances the flavor. Definitely make sure you season both sides. I have a plate up here because we want to make sure that we're not cross-contaminating anything, so that's why I'm doing it on the plate right there. So I have my chicken seasoned. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to get it on my grill. Now, when you are cooking chicken or any other meat, there's a good side that that's the term we use in the restaurant, and there's a bad side. Your good side is going to be the real shiny, smooth part of your chicken. That's going to be your presentation side. So you always want to start with your presentation side facing down. And we're going to go ahead and get that onto our grill. You definitely, before you put chicken on the grill, you definitely want to make sure you oil your grill. This is a non-stick surface, but I still want to put a little bit of oil on it because it still will stick. So I'll go ahead and place that onto my grill. I hear a good sear, so I know that my grill was hot enough. And now we're going to go ahead and let that cook. And then we'll get right into making our dressing. Now, this dressing that we're making is a vinaigrette. And to make a vinaigrette, you use a process called emulsification. Emulsification basically means I'm going to be using oil in this dressing. I'm going to be using some balsamic vinegar. Oil and water really does not mix. So through the process of emulsification, we're able to use an ingredient that's going to help those two liquids combined. And the agent that I'm going to use in that is some whole grain mustard. Now this is kind of just like a grape pawn mustard or a golden spicy brown mustard. This is whole grain though, it's just not ground up as finely as another mustard, so it kind of has a coarse appearance to it. If you can't find whole grain in your grocery store, that's fine, just use Golden's, it'll still do the same trick. A lot of other salad dressings, like a Caesar dressing, it uses egg yolks as the emulsification thing, so it's going to hold everything together. So I have my mustard in there. Now I'm going to add my balsamic vinegar. Now when you're buying balsamic vinegar in your grocery store or maybe a specialty food store, you know, it gets a little bit mind-boggling because there's all types of balsamic vinegars. All balsamic vinegars are aged. The longer it ages, the darker it gets, the stronger the aroma, the deeper the flavor, and the thicker it will become. You can get balsamic vinegars that's been aged for 20 years and you'll spend, oh, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, $60 a bottle for it. For this purpose, you don't really need an expensive balsamic vinegar because you're putting it into a salad dressing, you're adding other ingredients to it. So one that's super expensive is just not really necessary. So I got my mustard and vinegar in here in the bowl, and I'm just going to kind of whisk that together a little bit to break up the mustard, make sure it's evenly distributed throughout the balsamic vinegar. And then once that happens, I'm going to add some brown sugar. Now this, to me, is what makes Bravo's balsamic vinegar a lot different than other places. A lot of other places that do prepare their own dressing, they will not add sugar to your balsamic vinegar. And you know, balsamic vinegar is kind of an acquired flavor, you know. I mean, some people, you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. If you're a person who do not care for balsamic vinegar that much, give this one a try, and I guarantee you'll like that. So I have my sugar in there, whisk that together. I'm going to add some fresh chopped parsley to it. And parsley is an ingredient that I like to cook with a lot. A lot of people don't know that, but you know, parsley is not just for garnishing. You know, it adds a nice earthly flavor to dishes. Next, I have some chopped parsley here. Now, when you're doing parsley, when you're doing basil, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your knife is sharp. And the reason being is if you're using a dull knife, then when you go to cut your basil, you're going to bruise it. And basil is very easily bruised. And once you bruise it, then it's going to turn brown and it's going to turn black. And even though I'm putting this into a dark dressing, I still don't want my basil to be dark, you know, because you'll be able to see it. Even though it's finely chopped, you'll still be able to see it. So what you're going to do is, you know, you pick a few leaves off, kind of give them a roll up, and then take your knife, and instead of kind of using an up and down motion, it's kind of more of a back and forth motion. So you're slicing the basil versus actually chopping it. And that's going to allow you to get nice, clean, even cuts on it. It's not going to bruise it, and you're still going to have beautiful looking basil in your dish. And you know, a lot of times I'll chop some basil up and kind of use that as a garnish. And especially if you're doing that, that's really when you really want to make sure that you're very careful about how you're doing your basil. So my basil's in my dish. I'll add the rest of it right here. We're going to add some fresh chopped garlic, which you can also buy at your grocery store. Now, you know, you can do this several ways. You know, you can buy whole garlic and peel it, or you can buy garlic cloves that have been peeled for you already and place that into a food processor and chop it up by hand. But save yourself some trouble. You know, you can go to your grocery store and buy jars of minced garlic already. And if you do that, you might just want to drain it out a little bit because it will be in some liquid, and that's really not necessary for this dish. So I have that in. I'm going to finish it off with a little bit of salt and pepper. And once again, just mix that up really well. Make sure everything is nicely incorporated. And then the final step will be to add your oil. Now, the oil that we use for our salad dressings in the restaurant is a blended oil. It's 90% extra virgin olive oil and 10% canola oil. I've never necessarily seen that in a grocery store, but you can definitely make your own. And once again, olive oil is another one of those things that, you know, you can get a bottle for $10 or you can get a bottle for $30 and upwards and upwards. Once again, you're putting it in a dressing. It's not necessary to buy a super expensive extra virgin olive oil because we're not going for the flavor of the olive oil. You know, if I was doing an oil and vinegar dressing, then we're doing a high quality olive oil. Or you can use vegetable oil in this. Some grocery stores you'll see it advertised as salad oil. Any one of those will work. So now the emulsification begins, and Normally when you're doing an emulsified dressing, you use a hand blender, you might use a food processor, and that's definitely fine. In this case, we're going to use a hand whisk, and the reason being is the salad that we put this dressing on is very delicate. We use film grains for this dressing. So if I was to use a hand blender to make this dressing would come out a lot thicker. And all that's going to do is weigh down your lettuce. You're not going to be able to get nice height on your lettuce. It's going to make it wilt. So that's why we're going to use a hand whisk. It's still going to be thick. It's just not as thick as it would be if I used a food processor or a hand blender. Now when I'm emulsifying, I'm going to go in a nice circular motion, and you want a nice steady stream. Now the thing about using a whisk is it takes a little bit longer, it's a little bit harder work, you know, but in the end you're going to get a very nice product, and you're going to be really happy with it. And while you're whisking, the great thing about it is you can just really smell everything right now. I mean, if you was up here, you'd be able to smell the balsamic, you'd smell the basil and the garlic and everything else in this dish. I wish you all had a way to smell this. Can you? It smells great. It smells great. So we're going to whisk this in, and then we'll continue through our dish. Now right over there, I already have my chicken on the grill, and then a lot of questions that I always get from people is, how do you know when to flip your chicken? And my answer to them is, your grill is going to tell you. And when I get ready to go over there and turn over my chicken, you'll know exactly what I mean. And then also when cooking chicken, the biggest mistake that I think most people make when they're cooking chicken is they cook it too fast, especially on the grill. You know, with chicken, slow and low is the best way. It's not going to overcook, it's not going to burn, it's not going to cook all the juices out. And you'll see this chicken when we get ready to cut into it. It still has good juices and flavor in it. So I almost have all of my oil in. And then once I get all of my oil in, I'll just continue to whisk it for another 10-15 seconds or so, just to make sure everything is nicely incorporated. And we are done. And I'll kind of bring this down there so maybe you all can be able to see it. But it has a nice consistency to it. It's not too thick, you know, but just a nice, almost a molasses type kind of consistency to it. Now I did this earlier without spilling anything. I'm gonna see if I can repeat it one more time. That's the only thing I learned in culinary school was how not to spill stuff. And it's not all gonna fit, but I just wanted to set this out there. I did better than I did earlier. So. Okay, so my dressing is done. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go check my chicken. And now when I said that the grill will tell you when it's done, if I get ready to flip this and it sticks to that grill, that meant it wasn't ready to flip over. But this is good. I think I'm going to turn my grill up just a little bit to let that continue to cook. And now we'll get ready to finish the rest of the dish. So right here I have my saute pan already heated. Now we serve this with a roasted vegetable. And our vegetable medley consists of some snap peas, some tricolored carrots, and some broccoli. And tricolored carrots just mean it's 3 different colors. We have some off yellow ones, we have some orange ones, and there's also some red ones in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of oil to my saute pan, just a little bit. Now the broccoli and the carrots have been pre-cooked. The broccoli we blanch for about 30 seconds. That's all you need, and that's going to take some of the raw bite out of your broccoli. The carrots we season with extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper, and we roast them in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. Everyone's oven is a little bit different. You at home, I would probably roast them on about 375. I have convection ovens in my restaurant, so the air circulates, which cooks everything a lot more evenly. But when you get ready to roast them, just put them on a flat surface. You season them, put them in your oven. Every couple of minutes or so, give them a quick toss to make sure that they're cooking nicely and evenly, and you'll get a nice product. And then also, when you cut your carrots, you want to make sure that you cut them kind of thick. We cut our carrots 3/4 of an inch, which, you know, in the restaurants, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing things the same way every time. So we really stress that cut. But the reason why we cut them so thick is because as they're cooking, they're going to shrink up, they're going to shrivel up. And if you didn't cut them thick enough, then by the time they're done, you're going to have like carrot chips. And you know what? That's just not what we're looking for. We definitely don't overcook these. We don't want them mushy. We still want them to have a little bit of snap and a little bit of bite to them. So I have my oil in there. Now I'm going to add my snap peas to my saute pan. Now the snap peas, we do not pre-cook those at all. We're going to cook them from a raw stage here, okay? But the reason why we're going to add them first is, one, they're not cooked already. Two, we also want to give them a little bit of color. And three, by me putting them in this saute pan right here, that's what I'm going to use to get that raw flavor of those snap peas out. So we're going to let that cook for, maybe, I don't know, 25, 30 seconds, kind of depending on how warm your saute pan is. We'll give them a quick toss, and I'll hold one up so you can see what type of color that we're looking for on them. And it'll just take a second. And then also when you're cooking things like this and you're going for color, put them in your saute pan and let it sit. Don't do a whole lot of moving and shaking, because that's going to cool your pan down, and the more you move it, the longer it's going to take to get that color that you're trying to achieve. Now these should just be about ready. I'm going to give them a quick toss, and yes they are. And you can see I just have a little bit of a sear on them. It might be kind of hard to see, but that's what we're looking for. So once I get my snap peas to that point, I'll add the rest of my vegetables in. And once again, we'll give those a quick toss, because I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to them. And there it goes. Now, the salt and pepper that we use, because I know I keep saying salt and pepper, you just see me going from one container. This is a salt and pepper mix that we make. It's about 75% salt, 25% pepper, and we do use a white pepper in our mix. So we pre-make that in the house. So we actually don't have to worry about that. So I'll give that a quick toss. And then next, I'm going to add a little bit of water to this saute pan. Right there. Now the water is going to help finish cooking the snap peas. It's going to help everything get nice and hot. And make sure everything gets nice and warm and ready and delicious. So we'll let that cook for a little bit. I think I put a little bit too much water in there, but that's okay. You know, you can't really go wrong. And then when cooking at home, you know, you get a lot of questions about how do you do this? You know, how do you cook chicken? How do you cook steak? How do you cook shrimp? And the thing I tell people is, what do you like? You know, there's no way to go wrong when cooking, you know, especially if you're cooking for yourself, because you're cooking to your likes. You know, what do you like? You know, so try different things. You know, if you try something and you don't like the way it tastes, or it doesn't come out right, you know, try something else. You know, you can add ingredients, you can take ingredients out. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to pour a little bit of this water out, so I don't want my vegetables to get too much in. I really stress that. I really do not believe in overcooking vegetables. You know, you're cooking all the flavor out, you're cooking all the nutrients out, and it's just going to turn into mush. So once my water evaporates, the final part to this is a little bit of butter. You definitely want to make sure you add your butter at the very end, because if you don't, then your butter will brown. It'll burn, and it'll just leave a very bad, bitter taste in there. So once my butter finishes cooking, we'll go ahead and get ready to plate this dish up. And I think I am there. So now to finish this dish, we'll take our vegetables, okay? We'll place those into the bowl. There you go. It's going to be a little bit too too much too, so I'll put the rest in there. There we go. And then I'm going to dry out my pan a little bit. And then I'm going to get ready to do my spinach. Let that warm up a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in there once again. And then we're going to add a little bit of garlic. Now when cooking garlic, I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. Actually, I'm only doing it for one. I'm in essence making a garlic oil, and that's actually going to flavor my spinach. But you really want to be careful when sauteing garlic. If you put it in a super hot pan, it will burn immediately. And if you've ever bitten into burnt garlic, it is not good flavor. So I have my garlic in there. Now I'm going to add my spinach. Now when we cook our spinach in a restaurant, I think the worst thing you can do to spinach definitely is overcook it. I mean, it's just going to wilt up. It's going to be mushy. It's going to lose a lot of its color, and it's just not a good thing. So you'll notice that once I put my spinach in there, I took it away from the flame because all I'm going to do is just give this a couple of tosses to lightly wilt my spinach. And before I do that, we'll place a little bit of balsamic right in the bottom of that bowl. We're going to add our spinach right there. I'm trying to be careful because in the restaurant we don't use non-stick pans, so I don't want to scrape that up. There that is. Now I'm going to go check on my chicken. Oh yeah, we're good there. Now, to finish this, what we do, we take our chicken out, and right in the middle of your chicken is a small piece of cartilage. And then on the end, let me hold this up, you'll see those two little lobes. And usually they're just kind of like fatty tissue. So I'm going to take those two lobes off. And then right where that cartilage is at, we're just going to cut that out. It's very thin. You don't want to cut too much of your chicken away. Our chicken goes right on top of our spinach. Right there. And then we'll drizzle just a little bit more balsamic right on top of our chicken. And then what we're really known at Bravo is we believe in letting our food present itself. I'm not going to put any parsley on this dish because we think our food is beautiful enough without having to hide it with parsley. And there you have it, our balsamic chicken with roasted vegetables. Thank you. Now we do have some samples up here, so I'll come down and we'll pass them out and you all can tell us what you think of this dish. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. We keep all of our dressings no more than 72 hours. It will hold up for about 5 days, but once again in the restaurant, first off, it won't last in our restaurant for 72 hours, but we will not keep it past 72 hours. And this dressing, you definitely want to make sure you refrigerate it. It does have garlic in it, and garlic is a potentially hazardous food, so you definitely want to make sure you keep your garlic refrigerated. So this dressing does need to remain refrigerated. Absolutely. Any other questions? Oh, you all are easy today. There you go, sir. Absolutely. I'm sorry? You know what? If you want a recipe, I do have some on stage. So if you all would like a recipe, yes. Well, she's not here. I do quite a bit of cooking at home. Oh. But you know what? That's what I enjoy. That's why I'm in this business. You know, I really enjoy what I do, and I learned at a very young age that, you know, when picking a profession, I need to pick something that I really enjoy to do, and to me, cooking is no work at all. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Tri-City. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Absolutely. You're so welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Absolutely. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Now, someone told me earlier that they did not like balsamic. How do you like that? See, I told you. You know, and the secret to that is the sugar, you know. A lot of other places will not put sugar in it. And like, you know, that balsamic is just so strong. It really is. Who did not get a sample? Excuse me, please. Excuse me. I am so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. It finally came in handy.